We still don't know whether he's going to be here as the Bournemouth manager next season, but with every week, with every month, with every brilliant Bournemouth performance, the hope around here as we have a super dramatic entrance to the players as they emerge from the tunnel down beneath us. The hope here certainly is that they can hang on to him, because it feels like the sky's the limit, doesn't it, with Iraola in charge?
Yeah, and you've got to wonder. I mean, clearly I think conversations probably would have been had behind scenes already, you know, and there's been no public comment on that at the moment. But I think somewhere like Bournemouth, you know, he's clearly attracted the interest of other clubs throughout the season. There was those links at one time, you know, with Spurs as well before Thomas Frank went in. But you imagine that he's got a real say here at Bournemouth, and it's part of the project, a little bit more of a longer term plan. I think he fits Bournemouth, and likewise vice versa. So, you know, their recruitment's excellent, and no doubt we'll talk about some of those players this evening that are on show as well. But there's very exciting times down here. They've had their new stadium, training ground facility, you know, launched this season. There's a lot that attracts players here, as well as a manager like Iraola.
And then there's Brentford, of course, and everybody had questions over how they would be with the departure of Thomas Frank in the summer and Keith Andrews taking over. And yet I've heard, Franny, a couple of high-profile former players in recent days say if the season were to be stopped now and the awards handed out this week, Keith Andrews would be the manager of the season in the Premier League. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's outstanding, isn't it, what he's achieved? And from memory, I don't think they had the greatest of starts at the beginning of the season, did they? So, you know, to go on the run and to turn them into an outfit, especially, you know, Thomas Franks were pretty big boots to follow, weren't they? You know, he'd done so well at Brentford, and there was one or two eyebrows that were maybe raised at the beginning of the season when he was appointed, and I know there's been that big contract that was announced, you know, was 60-year deal, was it? He's just signed, so, you know, that seems a little bit unusual, but I'm sure he was delighted to be signing that. Whether he sees that out is another thing, but you can't question the job that he's done here with this Brentford side this season. So on the road, especially hard to play against in recent times, and that's what you want to become, difficult to beat on the road and pick up the results at home when you hopefully got this home side behind you.
Right, let's look at the teams, shall we, because this is how Bournemouth line up. Drew 1-1 here with Sunderland at the weekend. They've made a couple of changes to their team. David Brooks and Ellie Junior Krupi, the two players to drop out. So in come Ryan Christie and Evan Nielsen. So Petrovic in goal, Jimenez, Hill, Senesi and Trufer in the back line. Adams and Christie, we think, are going to be the two holding players. So Christie might be playing the 10 role and Alex Scott in a deeper position, but we'll find that out shortly. And then the wingers, Tavernier off the left, the very impressive teenager Ryan off the right-hand side. What an impact he's had since he came into Bournemouth in January. And Evan Nielsen leading the line. And Brentford, who have Kelleher back in goal. He missed the weekend crazy game at Turf Moor, which finished Burnley 3, Brentford 4 on short. Many of you have seen the highlights from that game on Match of the Day or online on the BBC Sport website over the last few days. He had twins, so congratulations to him. That's why he wasn't able to play, but he's back, the Irishman, tonight for Brentford. And then Coyote Collins is into the defence with Vandenberg, Henry the left back, Jensen and Henderson into the Brentford midfield tonight. Ouattara, of course, with his connections to Bournemouth, having left the club to join Brentford in the summer. He's the right winger. Sharda off the left. Damsgaard, 2 goals against Burnley at the weekend in the number 10 position, and Igor Thiago, and only Erling Haaland's got more goals than him, fronting up the Brentford forward line. So we're off and underway. Bournemouth going from left to right in this first half in the black and red home shirts, black shorts, black socks, and they've won an early throw halfway inside Brentford's half on this right hand side, and Brentford in their change strip of the sky blue with the maroon and orange colouring on it, going from right to left. It's not a big stadium, Vitality Stadium, but it's packed tonight, and a real good feeling, I think, inside this ground as well, in terms of the anticipation, Franny Benali, about what we might get from these two very watchable sides. Very much so, couldn't agree more, Chris. And it's interesting to hear the post-match comments that Iraola made. You know, I was here covering the game on Saturday with 5 Live Sport, and they didn't start well, which they normally do here, don't they, to put the visitors on the back foot. Here's Igor Thiago for Brentford into the box for Sharda. He's been forced slightly wide to the right by Jimenez, but he's managed to spin him, put it into the area. Tyler Adams on the ground, stretching out a leg to block that potential ball, and then Christie picks it up for Bournemouth, tries to lift it forward down that left-hand side for Tavernier, and that's cleared away by Nathan Collins. So we've played just over a minute. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0, 10th against 7th. There's 4 points between them right now in the Premier League table, and with the prospect of, as a bare minimum, 7, perhaps even the top 8 in the Premier League this season, it feels like are going to have European football next season. Brentford are in one of the hot seats, and Bournemouth are really not too far behind as Eagle Thiago, Brentford's number 9, collects the ball on the halfway line, spins, and it's worked out to that right-hand side, sent forward by Damsgaard. It's deflected to the right wing where Truffert is there, the Bournemouth left-back, the Frenchman, to clear it away, and it's collected by Evan Nielsen, who got Bournemouth's goal here against Sunderland in that 1-1 draw at the weekend. And Tavernier on the left wing, trying to bundle his way through, can't get past Coyote, and Brentford get possession back again. Franny.
Yeah, with 10 games to go, what's left of this season, Chris, you know, it's almost like a mini season, isn't it? You know, it's looking now for the teams either pushing for a title, pushing for a Champions League place, trying to survive a relegation battle, whatever it is. The clubs are literally got to try and step up and deliver in these remaining 10 matches, and both these teams here this evening are at the right end of the table, looking to sort of, am I right in saying that neither side has played in Europe before? So
correct. Yep.
You know, there's a big prize at stake for, you know, either side tonight to really sort of reinforce that charge towards the Champions League places, if with a victory here this evening.
I know it's a reference point that has been used a lot, but the fact that these two are far more sort of have over the years far more regularly met each other in the third tier, or perhaps at times even the fourth tier in English football, the fact that they are here and knocking on the door of the whole continent is testament to both the clubs, as Bournemouth goalkeeper Petrovic in the lime green slightly hoiks his clearance in the direction he didn't want to send it, out of play for a Brentford throw on this left-hand side. And what's going to happen immediately, I think we know, Michael Coyote from right back, high up now on the left-hand side to take what we know is going to be a long throw, Franny.
And he has got a long throw, hasn't he? You know, sometimes people have a long throw that's a short throw, but he genuinely does have the ammunition to be able to launch it into that area, almost like midway through the half, in the Bournemouth half, isn't he? So you can see the amount of players that Brentford have got in the box. There's everyone bar the goalkeeper and 2 other players.
And it comes from Coyote. Bournemouth have dealt with that first test away as far as Rico Henry's 30 yards from goal, the Brentford left back, and he's popped it out to the left side. Coyote's obviously still out here on the left, the Brentford right back, and then there is a foul by Nathan Collins, who was trying to get himself back into position. So Bournemouth have a free kick. This is one of 3 games that got underway at 7:30 in the Premier League tonight. No goals in the other 2 matches. Everton, Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland. We've got all the games on 5 Live this week in the Premier League, live for you either on 5 Live, on 5 Live Sports Extra, and they're each available on BBC Sounds as well. Wolves against Liverpool from 8:15 tonight as well. 0-0 here as Bournemouth give the ball away, and Collins in the Brentford back line hooks it forward towards Sharda, just runs slightly away from him, cleaned up by Hill, and then laid off by the American Tyler Adams out towards Jimenez, who was going for goal from the halfway line, I think there, trying to catch Kelleher out, who wasn't to be caught out because the ball has pretty much landed at his feet.
Yeah, a little bit over here. I think he might have just been trying to wrap his foot around it to try and whip the ball into behind the defence for the run that Evan Nielsen was making, but you know, Bournemouth with Krupi out, they'll be pleased to have Evan Nielsen coming in, given the fact that he came on as a sub, scored at the weekend, and then went off again, Chris, didn't he? So, you know, Bournemouth fans will be pleased to see him starting tonight in the absence of Krupi.
Yeah, had a bit of a hip issue, we're told, in that Sunderland game that you saw here, Franny, on Saturday lunchtime. As Alex Jimenez, who's technically on loan from AC Milan, but that is a move that is going to be triggered into a permanent one by Bournemouth, and he's had a brilliant season with the dyed blonde hair, and he's got another chance to take the throw from the right here. He's got his socks slightly pulled down so we can see the bottom half of his right leg heavily tattooed, and he's going to leave that throw actually for Hill to take.
I've been impressed when I've watched him, Chris. You know, a good player. He's slotted into this Bournemouth defence seamlessly. He's confident on the ball. He can get forward. He's got that engine to get up and down. Yeah, he's limping away a little bit at the moment, so he's obviously taken a little bit of a knock, but you know, with those low socks, as you say, just like many of the players nowadays, barely wearing shin pads at all, I think, but he certainly seems a very comfortable footballer on the ball, especially.
Hill's throw-in is cleared away by Brentford. Back out to this right-hand side for Ryan, and then as Hill tries to send it forward, Igor Thiago, you might have heard that connection because it was right down in front of us. Says our commentary position is probably only about 15, maybe 20 rows back from the front, so we are very close to the action in one of these 4 small stands that surround the pitch here at Vitality Stadium. Senesi from centre half sends the ball forward and it goes all the way through to Kelleher.
I think it's a great position for us as broadcasters, Chris, isn't it? You know, we may not have the height to get the real overview of the entire game, but to be this close to the action in a ground like this makes it feel like you're really part of the crowd and you're up against all the action. So yeah, any ricochets or challenges that you see or hear, you really got the taste of almost being out on the pitch.
7 minutes played, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0 tonight in the Premier League. As Craig Pawson, who's in charge tonight, indicates for a Brentford free kick just inside their own half for a push by Tavernier into the back of Michael Coyote. Bit of a shrug of the shoulders from Craig Pawson to say, well, what else can I do? If you're going to stick your arms out, I'm going to blow my whistle. Last Bournemouth game that he took charge of, by the way, was this very fixture actually, last season in the Premier League. As Damsgaard wins the ball on the halfway line for Brentford, and then Igor Thiago tries to thread it through. Truffert is covering almost in the centre half position, that left centre back position, and he gives the ball back to Petrovic, former Chelsea goalkeeper, to sweep it upfield, where it is won convincingly by Sepp van den Berg in the Brentford back line. And Coyote finds van den Berg's other centre half partner, which is Nathan Collins, and here is Rico Henry, and Ryan's applied the pressure to him. Fancies a Bournemouth throw, he's got one. Rico Henry sent that straight out of play, Bournemouth throw.
Yeah, and just seen that little bit of defending from Truffert and left back for Bournemouth. He recognised the danger, he just tucked in close alongside Senesi. If the pass was going to get through, it would have had to have been an absolute perfect pass and weight and direction, but great little position. You'd rather the ball go outside you as a fullback. Those balls in between a fullback and a centre half are the passes that really kill you, especially if the run of the strikers is spot on.
Senesi was hoping that Petrovic was going to come to the ball there, and from the edge of his penalty area, because he didn't quite have the communication right with his goalkeeper, the Argentinian has to clear it out of play for a Brentford throw. Still goalless. That Brentford game at the weekend, anything but goalless at Turf Moor, wasn't it? It was one of those matches, Franny, that almost had everything you could possibly want in terms of drama and incidents and clearly goals. It
was incredible, wasn't it? You know, to see a game like that or cover a game like that must be brilliant to be involved with, but you know, just a shame that the VAR got involved towards the end and obviously was part of the outcome.
Here's Alex Jimenez charging up towards the edge of Brentford's penalty area to the right hand side for Ryan. The number 37 on his back. He's quite tall, Ryan, isn't he? Had a couple of looks at him since he's come in, and every time, Freddie, I know you saw him at the weekend here against Sunderland, every time I've seen him, he looks a real talent, the 19-year-old. He's not built like a 19-year-old.
Not at all. I think he's 6'1", you know, and what I liked as well, he's predominantly left-footed, but he's still willing to drive down the outside and try and get to the byline with the ball as well. A couple of times that I saw him against Sunderland doing that. So as a fullback, you're not quite sure. You want to get him on his weaker foot, but he's pleased to sort of make those thrusting runs to the byline as well. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more of him.
Jansen's pass out to the right for Brentford, high up into Bournemouth's half, is misjudged by Dongo Ouattara, who was Brentford's club record signing when they paid £42 million for him to sign him from Bournemouth last summer. 88 appearances, 11 goals during his time on the south coast. Sharda into the box of Brentford. Jimenez coming across well, just stepping in the way of Damsgaard, who was very much a danger to Burnley in that game at the weekend. Burnley 3, Brentford 4 that we were talking about just a moment ago, and it's a Brentford throw very high in Bournemouth's half on the right hand side, only a couple of yards back from the corner flag actually, that Michael Coyote is going to take. But his problem in this particular stadium is that he doesn't have much space to sort of run up and launch one in, does he, because the hoardings are so close to the pitch.
He's maybe only got about 3 or 4 strides, but Again, he's launched it in, well, pretty short. Yeah, it's a good point. The run-up might be struggling there.
And Christie's clearance, who is only half away. Damsgaard's there. Oh, what a chance. Mikael Damsgaard, that ball fell to him on the edge of the penalty area, and it was almost as if, Franny, the ball got stuck underneath his studs because it just sort of ejected from the bottom of his boot really slowly. Yeah,
there was no Bournemouth defender around him, Chris, was there? And the ball came to him, and you just felt someone of Damsgaard's ability that he would volley it or strike it back in on target, but quite unusual for Damsgaard. He just sort of scuffed it. It got caught under his boots a little bit, didn't it?
Got the first goal and the last goal in that Brentford game at the weekend. Tyler Adams for Bournemouth, 0-0 here, Bournemouth-Brentford. Here is Marcus Tavernier moving out towards the left. Now he's delivered. There's a deflection on that cross, and Coyote kept his eye on it on the edge of his 6-yard box, heads it away, back into the box again by Adams, on by Scott. Van den Berg underneath it, not much distance on his clearance. There wasn't much on Jensen's either, and in the end it took Jordan Henderson on the volley to properly give it the treatment to clear it away. Forward again on the half volley by Hill. Very nicely executed that towards Tavernier on the left wing. Couple of yards back from the byline, Tavernier. He's got Coyote touch tight to his back, tees it off for Truffert, and then intercepted by Ouattara, and off he goes. The former Bournemouth player for Brentford down the right hand wing, runs into Truffert, no foul, so Bournemouth have the ball back again.
Ouattara's still sat on the turf, and he's just coming to his feet now, not happy with that decision from Craig Pawson. I don't think, felt he was fouled, but he just needs a little bit more support when Brentford do break forward. They've got Thiago up there, but they need a few more players just to get up and support the players that are driving forward with the ball. 12 and a half minutes play. Ryan for Bournemouth, right side of the penalty area of Brentford's cross into the middle, but into the 6-yard box, and specifically into the hands of Queeving Kelleher. And well done to him for becoming a dad over the last few days with the... Well done to his partner, really, not well done to him, but congratulations to him all the same for the arrival of his 2 little ones. It's the best thing ever, isn't it? Best thing ever, yeah. Nice that he's back into playing action. I'm sure he would have been following closely as much as he had other priorities maybe at the weekend, but as you touched on, what a game to not be involved in, I guess. Just seeing a shot of Keith Andrews down on the touchline. Thick head of hair, dark hair on top of Keith Andrews' head. He's got one of the best hairs I think the Premier League has seen in the last few years. Keith Andrews, it's a magnificent barnet, Franny. Yeah, mine. If I let mine grow any longer than I do mine, it looks like I'm wearing a crash helmet, Chris. It grows out as opposed to down. Lockdown was a dreadful time for me, honestly. Well, imagine what it must have been like for Keith Andrews. There must have been curls going everywhere. It must have been Rapunzel-esque. Do you know what's even worse? I did some promotional stuff for Southampton once things started getting relaxed a little bit, and I had this lockdown haircut, and for the life of me, like, this picture keeps emerging all the time now, and every time I see it I think, oh no, why didn't I just get the scissors out and scalp myself? But yeah, he has got a fine head of hair, hasn't he? And he's delighted with how his side have done of late. I'm sure he'd be quite pleased with these opening 14-15 minutes of the game so far, just trying to quiet. Here's Jensen. Sorry, Franny lifting it in. Matthias Jensen towards that far post of Bournemouth, and Nathan Collins is just going to allow that ball to trickle out of play for a Brentford throw. Quarter of an hour on the clock, 0-0. See if we can get hold of that photo that you're talking about of yourself during those COVID times. Please no. There will be ways. Coyote drying the ball off. Not that it's a wet night at Vitality Stadium, it's actually very dry. It's been a pleasant afternoon around these parts, bright sunshine for most of the day. Coyote in towards that near post. Oh, it bounced all the way through, right across that 6-yard box, and actually there was a push in there by Van den Berg, the former Liverpool defender. So it's going to be a Bournemouth free kick here. Big talking point of late, Chris, as well, isn't there, about like corners, free kicks, throw-ins, how teams are sort of targeting that kind of set piece to pile pressure around the goalkeepers. It must be so tough for goalkeepers in this scenario. A lot of these keepers are big enough, being able to use their hands to come out and claim balls, but when there's so many bodies around, they just can't do that. Evan Nielsen for Bournemouth after Ryan won it back. Christie's got it now. Bournemouth's number 10, 15 yards outside Brentford's penalty area. Didn't get the execution on the pass right for Tavernier, so Coyote
has got time to clear from that right back berth for Brentford. He's going to have to do the same again here. Oh, he's gone through the legs of Evan Nielsen. How cool is that from the young Italian?
Well, that's as cool and calm as it comes, doesn't it? When it comes off, it's great, as it did then, going through the legs of Evan Nielsen. But the downside of that, if you make a mistake in the 18-yard box like that, you can easily get punished.
He was a bit unlucky, Coyote, at the weekend in that win at Burnley, because he scored one own goal and there was another that went in off him as well. Wasn't officially credited as his. Here is Damsgaard. Damsgaard looking for Sharda, cleared away by Hill just inside the Bournemouth box, picked up by Henderson to the right hand side for Ouattara, feigns to cross, now in the box, he's trying to get it onto his left foot. Truefair stands him up, makes the interception, and Ouattara lets it go out for a Brentford throw. 0-0 and still no goals between Everton and Burnley, and Leeds and Sunderland in the other games that got underway at 7:30 in the Premier League, and they've just got underway at Vale Park in the rearranged FA Cup 4th round game tonight between Port Vale of League One, the bottom side in League One, at home to Bristol City, and the winner will be playing Sunderland in round 5 this weekend. Coyote with the throw into the penalty area for Brentford, and Evan Nielsen is hauled over by Damsgaard, and it's a free kick to Bournemouth on the edge of their penalty area. They've dealt well with those early Coyote throws.
Yes, they have. Yeah, Bournemouth look well set up. I'm sure they're well drilled coming into the game, knowing what to expect from Brentford. But Brentford have just won it back again in Bournemouth's half.
Here's Damsgaard for Sharda. Sharda across to the edge of the penalty area looking for Ouattara. Sharda's gone down. He wanted a free kick. Ouattara's crossed it in anyway from that right-hand side. Jimenez is there to win the header for Bournemouth, and it's helped on its way upfield by Ryan. But at the moment, this is an offering from a Brentford team who have been very good home and away this season, and you can see why, Franny, in the first 18 minutes, why they've been such a problem for so many teams, however, wherever they sit in the Premier League table.
Yeah, no, most definitely. You know, they're solid, they're well drilled. You know, those relationships with one another, playing on a regular basis, every player knows what's expected from them, and they've started pretty well here tonight. You know, the Bournemouth crowd are just starting to go a little bit quiet, so almost that turning point. They've set out with their first ambition of keeping things tight, but they've looked quite dangerous once or twice when they've had a few of the set pieces as well so far.
Win for Brentford tonight, they go up to 6th, at least for 24 hours, above Chelsea. Currently 2 points behind them at the start of play tonight. They're 5 behind Liverpool in 5th. And depending on what happens in that game between Everton and Burnley tonight, there is the prospect of Bournemouth clambering up to 8th, just behind Brentford, if they collect the 3 points. Here's Rico Henry moving at pace down the left-hand side. Jimenez did well, stuck with him, went shoulder to shoulder, gets the goal kick, and then in an effort to pump up the crowd, he raised both of his arms in the direction of the Bournemouth faithful to say, I enjoyed that, I hope you did too.
Yeah, it was good defending from Jimenez, wasn't it? Spoke about his attributes going forward and comfortable on the ball, but it was great defending work there. But Brentford would be a little bit concerned because Henry has gone down on the turf holding his right hamstring, and if it looks like what I think from my experience as a player, that could be the end of the game for Henry. He's just tweaked something, I think, making that run forward, and they've got a substitute warming up. They're probably going to make a change, I would imagine.
Well, this is if he is to go off, Rico Henry, this is a big blow, because this is a player that's had injury issues previously, of course, and Keith Andrews, who is slightly frantically rubbing his face just down in front of us, maybe knows that this isn't a good sign. They're working on the right leg of Rico Henry here, with some strapping around the right knee already that's very visible.
It might have been just a little twinge, you know, almost like when you get like almost a little warning, Chris. Sometimes you get that little small twinge, don't you? But looks like they are going to make the change, I think. Or is he getting back to his feet? But if it is a hamstring, if it is a slight strain, then he's really running the risk of making it worse if it is a strain of some sort.
I've just seen the big Norwegian Christopher Ayer be called to get over immediately and get himself ready. He's taken his tracksuit top off, Ayer, so he's got his six-pack on display at the moment. He's getting the fitness vest on, and on goes the jersey. So it is an early and unwanted Brentford change to lose Christopher Ayer, to lose Rico Henry here, and to get on Christopher Ayer. So Is I going to play in that left-back position? It's not his most natural role. He's a centre-half. He's often seen at right-back as well, but might have to be used as a left-back option here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Areola now, or some of the players out on the Bournemouth side, and even Ryan himself as the right-sided player for Bournemouth, you'd be thinking, right, give me the ball as much as you can. I'm going to test him out, see what he's like in this position that's not overly natural to him.
He was actually still doing his boots up when he came on the pitch. Play was going on, and as soon as he realised that there was an opportunity, he was sorting himself out. He's now going through a bit of a warm-up routine as well. He's getting the stretches in. I don't think he was quite ready for that. No,
not at all. They needed to make that change quick, didn't it? And he's got to do his best to get straight into this game, because he doesn't want to be caught out a little bit cold or not warmed up and potentially facing another injury. But I'm sure he'll be fine, but it's going to be an interesting battle between him and Ryan now.
Long ball forward for Bournemouth, looking for Evan Nielsen. He's got behind, he's in the box, takes it on his chest, he's run out of room. The ball just eked away from Evan Nielsen at the very last, and he wasn't going to be in a position to wrap his left boot around it.
No, very difficult, Chris, wasn't it? It took a bounce, and he sort of nipped in ahead of the defender, and once he took that touch off his chest, just ran out of pitch. He's a little bit frustrated after that as well. He hasn't seen a huge amount of the ball. I think he kicked out at the advertising board in frustration. But as we know, as he came on Saturday, only needs one chance. And he's more than capable of putting the ball in the back of the net for this Bournemouth team.
And his last 4 Premier League goals have all come here at the Vitality Stadium as well, as Nathan Collins, facing his own goal, goes back to Kelleher, who's very much in the Irish green tonight, the Brentford keeper, as Ryan collects it, and then Jimenez gives it away from just inside his own half from that right back position. And Brentford had it with Jordan Henderson, who played in Liverpool's 9-0 win against Bournemouth 3.5 years ago, which most Cherries fans will remember was the very last of Scott Parker's reign, having just took them up into the league. Here's Evan Nielsen and Tavernier, left side of the penalty area, right-footed shot, bends it just wide, but that was close, and you could tell it was close because of the reaction of not just the crowd but the player too. Tavernier putting his hands up to his face.
Yeah, it was originally a bit of a ricochet that fell straight back to Bournemouth, about 30 yards out, but as soon as Tavernier got on it, he did a great little cutback, and you can see what he's trying to do. He wraps his right foot around the ball, hopefully send it into the far corner of the net, and as you rightly say, Chris, there's a few of the Bournemouth supporters that thought he was going inside the net, but certainly probably the closest we've come to a goal so far.
He's had his own injury problems, Marcus Tavernier. Has missed a few games in the early part of 2026 with a hamstring problem. In fact, that start that he made against Sunderland at the weekend was his first since mid-January for Bournemouth. As Truffert gallops forward down the left, the Bournemouth fullback, who's been such a brilliant replacement. What a find he's been for Milos Kerkez. There were so many Bournemouth fans that were worried about what that left back position would look like without Kerkez. Here's Igor Thiago. Jensen coming onto it, edge of the penalty area, drives his shot right at James Hill, who just stoops slightly to get his body in the way of it. Hill, the Bournemouth centre half, and Evan Nielsen doing what he likes to do, the Brazilian, using his body well. Then he's sent straight down at some force by Jordan Henderson. Bournemouth have still got the ball, so they will continue to build from just inside their own half.
Excellent hold-up play from Evan Nielsen, great strength, holding off Henderson, and a great little back heel as well to play his teammate in.
And now Hill with a long ball over the top down the right for Ryan, who just carried that out of play. Must have been only a couple of inches in that, but the assistant referee, who was in front of the whole situation, raises his flag. So goal kick to Brentford. 25 minutes played, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0.
Yeah, frustrating for Ryan there. He's just running out of pitch again a little bit, just couldn't sort his feet out quick enough to keep the ball on the playing surface, because he looked at it for a moment and thought he's got a one-on-one with Ayers, just not long come on as a substitute. Would have been a great opportunity to have tested him out defensively.
More live Premier League football for you tomorrow. 4 more games: Brighton against Arsenal, Newcastle, Manchester United, which is the later kick-off tomorrow. So the second half of that will be available on 5 Live, plus on Sports Extra's various channels. Manchester City against Nottingham Forest, and Aston Villa against Chelsea. So lots of title talk and relegation chat and possible European contenders. It's all on the agenda tomorrow night in the Premier League. And Tottenham Hotspur against Crystal Palace on Thursday night. We'll have that one for you too, as Igor Thiago high up inside Bournemouth's half, trying to put Senesi under pressure, grabs his shirt, pulls him to the ground. Free kick to the Cherries, 0-0. Franny Bernardi.
Do you know what I'm thinking, Chris? There's bound to be so many twists and turns in there in these remaining games for the rest of the season. Top of the table, bottom of the table. There's going to be so much excitement for us all to see. If you've got a team of interest in those mixes, it can probably be a little bit quite nervous, but for the neutral, it's going to be great to watch.
Off goes Jimenez down the right-hand side. He had his head slightly bowed. He got cantering. He had to come back in field, and then he misplaces the ball to Alex Scott, so Brentford get it back again. But just in those little flashes you can see what Alex Jimenez brings to this Bournemouth team from that right back area, because he's super quick and he loves to attack as much as he loves to defend.
He does, yeah. We've seen the qualities of both sides of his game already. As I said, comfortable on the ball, he's got ability on the ball, he can get forward and support attacking displays from this Bournemouth side, but pretty solid defensively as well. But just on that occasion, just not on the same wavelength as his teammate.
Not been beaten in their last 8, Bournemouth. The last side to get the better of them were Arsenal. It was 2 months ago today. Here as well.
And that's maybe why we've just got a little bit of a stalemate so far, Chris. You know, both sides have been doing really, really well of late, and you know that breeds confidence and belief in the sides as well. So you know, you'd like to think that there'd be some sort of quality within this game that will sort of break the deadlock, but we've got two sides that are here used to winning games, used to picking up points, and used to being hard to beat. So you know, that's probably why we've got the game that we have on our hands so far.
And I wasn't really sure how this was going to play out, Franny, because tonight you've got a Bournemouth team who have drawn more games than any other side in the Premier League this season, and a Brentford side who have got the fewest number of draws in the Premier League, just 4. And Bournemouth's draw count is at 12, so it's quite the difference between them. And at the moment, it's following the Bournemouth trend, not the Brentford one, as Evan Nielsen on this right wing goes back towards Tyler Adams and all the way back into Bournemouth's half with Hill. Yeah,
and Bournemouth just happy to keep working away the ball side to side, and you know, they're so quick when they do break attacks down on the turnovers, aren't they? So they haven't had really many chances to do that, but you know, Brentford just trying to play out from the back. You'd say that Bournemouth will definitely try and press them high up the pitch like they are.
And they have to go back to Kelleher there, Brentford, because Bournemouth were trying to apply the pressure, and Kelleher's clearance has been picked up by Tyler Adams. Infield to the right-hand side for Alex Scott with his long hair bobbing behind him. Right-footed delivery towards the far post. Coyote's there, heads it behind because Tavernier was right behind him. And it is Bournemouth corner, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0.
Good play all round, a lovely little clipped ball into the far post from Scott. Looking for his teammate, Tavernier, but you've got to credit Coyote, tracked the run of Tavernier really, really well. And am I right, is this the first corner of the game? Not sure.
I don't know.
I almost want to say so. We've had a lot of long throws, haven't we? But you know, I've got a feeling this might be the first corner. And interestingly, it's an outswinger. So it goes against the trend of in-swinging corners right under the noses of the goalkeeper.
You're right, it is the first corner of the game in the 29th minute, and it's a Bournemouth corner. It's a short one, and then it's sent towards the far post for Tavernier, who just saw the ball eke underneath his boot, so he's reset, and then he's sent a brilliant ball in. And Evan Nielsen, who was on the stretch, who half hoped that the referee would spot that there was a bit of contact on him, he's ended up on the floor. That ball from Tavernier, in many ways as dangerous as the one he delivered here against Sunderland at the weekend for Evan Nielsen's goal.
It is a fabulous ball in. Possibly would have been, you know, interesting to see VAR looking at it from an offside point of view, but I think Evan Nielsen's more interested in the contact there, hoping he's going to get a penalty. There is some sort of contact. I don't think there's enough of a pull. Iriola's out of his bench, appealing for the penalty with some of his staff, but it's not a penalty for me. If he'd really committed to attack the ball, I think he might have had a chance of getting ahead to it.
I think that's a really good spot, Franny, because it almost looks like Evan Nielsen there was trying to link up hands or arms perhaps with Vandenberg, the Brentford centre-half, in the hope that he was going to win a penalty, and he just didn't fully commit himself to that opportunity. So we're going to reach the half-hour mark with the scoreline 0-0, but Ryan trying to get the wrong side of Ayer. Ayer's too strong for him. Ryan's gone down inside the box, but only because Ayer just used his body really nicely. And the Brentford substitute is on for the injured Rico Henry, gives the ball to Kelleher, and Kelleher goes upfield towards Igor Thiago. He's not been able to get himself into the game so far, Brentford's leading scorer, Igor Thiago. Got Brazilians at both ends of the pitches in the forward lines tonight with Evan Nilsson and Igor Thiago.
We're just seeing Ayer come out on top on this one-on-one battle. I'm intrigued with it. It's literally feet away from us, Chris, isn't it? Right down here on the right-hand side for Bournemouth, left side for Brentford, with Ayer on as substitute. He's come out on top on the last couple of encounters with Ryan.
Still goalless in the other 7:30 games in the Premier League tonight. Alex Scott shooting from the edge of the box, shooting too high, 3 or 4 yards over Kelleher's bar, who didn't look too bothered by that. The Brentford goalkeeper behind for a goal kick, still 0-0.
Well worth an effort from there, I'd say. Like I say, sort of pretty central, didn't have a lot else on, if anything at all, to find one of his teammates, so well worth a go. I don't think we've had a shot as such on target either, but certainly not one that I can note either goalkeeper having to make a save as such.
What do you think about the prospect of Alex Scott going to the World Cup with England? Of course, he was in the most recent Thomas Tuchel England squad, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think when you've got teams that are doing well individually, or team success, you then get individual recognition and success as well. And Bournemouth are a good side, playing well. Individuals will get that recognition. It's down to good performances like players like Scott.
Just watching a challenge from Tyler Adams on Mikael Damsgaard, who was a bit too high in the tackle there, penalised by Craig Pawson. Andoni Iraola reacted very angrily to that. He wasn't happy that Adams was penalised. It wasn't. He's asking Craig Pawson now, was that me? Was that me? It was. It wasn't too dissimilar to the tackle he made on Granit Xhaka here at the weekend, where he was treading the VAR wire very carefully, wasn't he?
I thought he was quite lucky. I felt that there was a little tug beforehand, but the ball had gone, in my opinion, and he did catch Xhaka quite nicely with his studs.
High ball into Bournemouth's penalty area. It's loose and then it's cleared away by Alex Scott upfield. Yeah, Franny, when I got home that night, because I was at another game at the weekend, I put the highlights on and I'd heard you talking on 5 Live about that challenge on Saturday lunchtime. And then I saw it, and I'm with you. I think Tyler Adams was a little fortunate to escape with just a yellow card. Here come Bournemouth, 0-0 tonight against Brentford. Ryan's on the ball, goes past Jensen into the box, and the covering man was Jordan Henderson. Good work by him to get back there and put it behind for a Bournemouth corner.
It was great doubling up. Henderson coming across, recognising the danger. Would have liked to have maybe just seen Ryan take it on his right foot. A shot a little bit earlier. It's almost like waiting for the perfect scenario to either get a shot or cut the ball back, and it enabled Henderson to get across and put the ball out for another corner to Bournemouth.
He's got a couple of Premier League goals already, hasn't he, Ryan, against Aston Villa and Everton last month. Short corner by Bournemouth. Truffert curls it in and over the top it goes. It was James Hill who was there on the edge of the 6-yard box. Couldn't keep that header down, the Bournemouth centre-back.
Oh, it's a fabulous opportunity to score. He's got to do better there, I think. Questions whether there might have been an offside, but he's literally 5 yards out, almost level with the far post. He's got to hit the target there. He's got a free header, and we're seeing Iraola on the touchline, throws his hands on his head. Can't believe that Bournemouth haven't gone 1-0 up.
Never scored a goal for Bournemouth before, James Hill. I doubt he's had too many chances that were quite as presentable as that one across the many games he's played for them now.
Yeah, he'll be kicking himself with that one when he sees it back, I think, Chris. Wonderful opportunity, and yet again, not for the first time this evening, a fantastic delivery into the box from the wide areas.
That's something that Andoni Iraola will no doubt be ruminating on now as he stands on the edge of his technical area, the Bournemouth manager, in his grey sweatshirt and his slightly darker trousers. He's frantically pointed at something, Andoni Iraola. I think he wants Alex Jimenez to get a bit tighter to the possible option of a short throw. Coyote has gone short with the throw, and Coyote onto his right boot, infield towards Henderson, back with Matthias Jensen, but Jensen at the moment is only about 10 yards inside Bournemouth's half, and he doesn't have anywhere to go, so he goes all the way back, the Danish midfielder, to Kelleher, the goalkeeper. High ball out to that right hand side, headed into Bournemouth's box, away by Senesi, and then Tavernier collects on the left hand side, just inside Brentford's half. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0, and Bournemouth rebuild from the back with Tyler Adams, and all the way across to James Hill, who's now got an out to bring it forward, the Bournemouth centre-back, to Jimenez on the halfway line. Jimenez just hangs on to it for a couple of seconds, back inside for Tyler Adams, talking to the World Cup. He'll hope to be there, and be there, of course, with one of the home nations as well. Very significant summer coming up for Tyler Adams. This is Hill. Hill back to Adams again. Bournemouth having to rebuild, but do it slowly here. Begin the night 10th in the Premier League table, Bournemouth, but on this 8-game unbeaten run. Had a really strange season, Bournemouth. They were brilliant in the first couple of months, and then they went that long period where they couldn't win, and now they're not losing as Ryan Christie bursts towards the edge of Brentford's penalty area. Jensen's clearance is only half away for Brentford. Jimenez has got it, 35 yards from goal, to Ryan on the right-hand side, back to Jimenez, back to Ryan again, those two working it between them, and now Christie finding some space into the box for Evan Nielsen, back to Christie round the goalkeeper. Oh, he couldn't sort his feet out. Maybe he overplayed that, Ryan Christie, and Andoni Iraola is hopping around inside his technical area, and now he's rubbing his hands over his face. That was such a brilliantly worked Bournemouth move, and they didn't have the finesse at the end of it all, Franny.
Oh, it would have been the most incredible team goal. There was some fantastic 1 and 2 touch play, but it's Christie, the one that's on the ball at the key moment, and you think he's going to take the shot on with his left foot. He opened himself up, the shot was available to take it on. He just dragged it back onto his right foot to try and go round the goalkeeper, and just ran out of play. It would have been a fabulous goal either way. Just trying to do that little bit too much there, Christie. But fantastic football. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry, Franny. I was going to say Bournemouth will feel, won't they, that they've got themselves into some really good areas in the last 10 minutes and have not been able to capitalise on those moments. Still 0-0.
Yeah, just a couple of key moments, hasn't there? There's the header for James Hill, that one for Christie, a couple of really good opportunities to take the lead in this game. So just seeing Iraola, he is a little bit more animated than what I've seen him on some occasions.
James Hill allowing that ball to run out of play for a goal kick. Yeah, he is. He's clearly sensing the occasion tonight and the opportunity for Bournemouth to close the gap on Brentford, to get back within 1 point of a team that you feel, I mean, it may well be that one of these teams is in Europe next season, Franny, but only one of them, and that's why this feels significant tonight.
Of course, I mean, there's still a lot to be done, and you look at some of the games, I think especially sort of Bournemouth coming up. They've got Man United at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle away within the next 4 games, so there's some really tough fixtures coming up. That's why it makes tonight's game so important.
Igor Thiago, really good work from him in that right back position, right in front actually of those Brentford fans that are opposite us here. Got into a defensive area, Igor Thiago, broke up the play on Tavernier, and now Brentford are springing forward down the right with Damsgaard, though. That's been hastily stopped by Marcus Senesi, who sweeps it away for Bournemouth from that left centre-back position. Back forward into Bournemouth's half again on the right with Damsgaard. Here's Henderson and Damsgaard with the thinning hair, and then the challenge from Senesi up towards Evan Nielsen, looks after it well again on the halfway line, turns and runs, and Jimenez is an option coming forward here, and instead the ball goes to Ryan, and Ryan's 5 yards outside the Brentford penalty area. Further to this right wing for Alex Scott, 0-0. We're in the last 5 minutes of the first half. This is Tyler Adams for Bournemouth. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. Jimenez crosses from the right, headed away by Nathan Collins, stooping slightly to clear. Collected again by Tyler Adams. Jimenez is going to have another chance to cross, and that one's deviated off the outstretched leg of Jensen and behind for another Bournemouth corner.
Yeah, and that's where Bournemouth look dangerous, especially of late, doesn't it? They just seem to be cranking up the pressure on Brentford, asking a few more questions defensively, and it was a great run initially on that counter-attack. Jimenez bursting forward, dragging a few of the Brentford defenders away, just to create a bit of space for his teammates, but it just slowed the tempo down at the key moment, I felt.
Everton have scored against Burnley in the Premier League. James Tarkowski, after that brilliant win they got at St James's Park at the weekend. David Moyes' team. Here comes the Bournemouth corner from the right. Tavernier with his left boot towards that far post. Kelleher punched away. Good punch as well from the goalkeeper. There were so many bodies around him there to have to navigate his way through. Back in again by Christie from the right with his left foot towards that far post where Coyote is there, but Brentford having to defend with some strength at the moment to this Bournemouth pressure. Truffert laying it off on the left wing to Tavernier, and back to Truffert again, and he comes in field for Christie, halfway inside Brentford's half, centrally, left-footed cross, and Ouattara just allows the ball to drift across his body and out for a Brentford goal kick.
Yeah, surprising on that occasion that Bournemouth have put the ball into the box, not of the same quality that we've seen so far in this game, but they just seem quite happy to try and defend a little bit. Brentford, given that there was a couple of key opportunities for Bournemouth to score in the last 10 or so minutes, they're just slowing things down. Certainly no rush to take this goal kick.
Still Leeds 0, Sunderland 0, by the way, at Ellen Road, and still no goals in the FA Cup fourth round game tonight between Port Vale and Bristol City either. Wolves against Liverpool to come from 8:15. That's live on 5 Live and on BBC Sounds. Here is Ajer for Brentford, who, if you've joined us in the last 15 minutes or so, he's on for Rico Henry, who was forced off in the early stages because of injury, so we'll wait to see what the impact might be for Rico Henry. This is Ryan, can't quite bring it under control as that ball was coming towards him. And Ajer's the one who clears upfield. Senesi wins the header in front of Igor Thiago. Christie, who's always on the move, always alert, always looking for the ball. He picks it up for Bournemouth, but his driven pass forward is intercepted by Matthias Jensen. Such a clever player, Ryan Christie, isn't he? I always think that with him, Franny, that it feels like you get those certain players who see the picture perhaps a quarter of a second faster than anyone else. Yeah,
and sometimes players of his kind go a little bit under the radar. You know, not always fully appreciated by certain sections of a fan base, maybe. I'm not saying that is the case with him, but you know, the work they get through, you know, the energy that you need to play in this Bournemouth side in the middle of the park, and the ability to break forward and work up and down as well. And as you say, certainly buzzing around bright throughout the game.
Last couple of minutes of the first half, we're still waiting for a goal here at Vitality Stadium. Damsgaard's tried a low ball into the box, and Trufair cuts it out, gives it back to Petrovic to clear. I mean, we've had key Bournemouth moments. I don't think, apart from that one chance, Franny, for Mikael Damsgaard, which he got a bit wrong after the ball dropped his way on the edge of the box, there hasn't been an abundance of Brentford openings, has there?
No, I'd agree with you, Chris. Yeah, it's certainly been Bournemouth that have had the better opportunities to score. Brentford just need to step up their attacking play and the creation of chances created, really, to get, you know, the first goal here. You'd have to say, if on the probability of what we've seen so far, it's Bournemouth more likely.
Here's Trufair in an advanced position, chops inside onto his left foot, cut out eventually by Jordan Henderson, who several times in this first half shows why he's such a good protector of those behind him. Clearly wouldn't still be on the peripheries of the England squad, Jordan Henderson, at 35 years old, if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, he knows the game inside out, doesn't he? His knowledge and experience of the game is invaluable to this Brentford team.
Ryan, right wing, skipping past Ajer, away from Ajer, tries to pull it back, and who's there again? Henderson, right place, perfect positioning. Sharda upfield towards Igor Thiago, the layoff for Damsgaard, 5 yards inside Bournemouth's half. Now Ouattara on the right, all 4 of Brentford's attacking players involved in this move. Ouattara just outside the penalty area, low left-footed shot, blocked by Tyler Adams, who wasn't going to let him out of his sights there, Bournemouth's midfielder. And the visitors from West London will restart things from deep again.
Yeah, I think some of Ouattara's teammates might feel a little bit disappointed that he tried to take the shot on. He had a bit of support on that occasion. It's one of the few times they've broken against this Bournemouth defence. Decided to take the shot on from outside the box. It got blocked, but they come forward again.
And it's Nathan Collins bringing it forward, powering forward from that centre-back position. Sharda thinks he's going to get a corner. He is. Last touch has come off Jimenez, who appealed, but then as soon as Craig Pawson indicated for the corner, dropped his head and said no more. So I think we know that that's the right call from the referee as we move into the final few seconds of the 45 minutes at least. So we're going to get indication from Darren England, the VAR, shortly with the digital display, how many minutes we're going to have added on here on this very calm and mild night at Vitality Stadium in Dorset. 2 added minutes at the end of the 45, and there is a cluster of bodies all around Petrovic, many sky blue movement in there. In it comes, and again it nearly came to Damsgaard, but not that time because Ryan was quick enough and alert enough to recognise that, and he clears it away up to the halfway line where Coyote brings it forward for Brentford. So last couple of minutes, 0-0, crossed by Henderson, comes all the way through, and then away it goes by Hill. He's given that the full treatment up towards the halfway line. The Bournemouth defender to clear, Franny Benali.
Yeah, good defending from Bournemouth on these key moments just before half-time. Seen the danger out on a couple of occasions. Brentford looking a little bit more dangerous in those last couple of minutes. We go into the last minute now, plus any added time that Craig Pawson allows.
Alex Scott picking the gap, Tavernier on his left foot, shoots low, saved by Kelleher. Really good stop by the Brentford goalkeeper after a brilliant ball by Alex Scott. The vision there, Franny, from that central position with his right foot to see the run from that left side by Tavernier.
It was a fabulous pass, wasn't it? And Tavernier does the only thing really open to him. He takes a little look up. The only thing going against him really is that the ball's bouncing. It's difficult to strike, but he gets it on target. I've got to say, they've had those chances, Bournemouth, but still haven't managed to find a breakthrough.
And rather unfortunately for Marcus Tavernier, it was the save by Kelleher, and then it came back and just hit Tavernier on the shoulder and went out of play for a goal kick. And that may very well be the last big chance of this first half, which is still Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. But as Franny was saying, not without now plenty of Bournemouth chances to have had the lead in this first half here. The bright lights of the Vitality Stadium beaming down onto the pitch, and Craig Pawson is going to blow the half-time whistle. So 0-0 at half-time between Bournemouth and Brentford. It doesn't feel like there's too much between these two teams, just generally speaking, Franny, across their season. Both really impressive units, and ultimately impressive units that are cancelling each other out right now.
They're doing exactly that, Chris, aren't they? Bournemouth have had the better of the opportunities, but we touched on it in the first half on the comms that, you know, they're nullifying one another a little bit, aren't they? You've got to say Bournemouth have been doing the better from the attacking perspective, but, you know, Brentford will be going down the tunnel very pleased to be going in on level terms because of those chances Bournemouth have had. I think Iriola will be disappointed that they haven't capitalised and taken at least one of those, because you do wonder that, you know, half-time breaks can shift the momentum quite a bit, don't they? That gives the managers opportunities to sort a few things out. You'd say Brentford would maybe look to come out a little bit more maybe in the second half, or just try and see the game out for as long as possible, and then anything can happen. So the onus is almost on Bournemouth as the home side to really take it to Brentford again in the second half.
Which of those Bournemouth chances do you think was the most golden of all of them?
Maybe James Hill header. You know, if he hits the target there, it'd be very difficult for the goalkeeper to make a save, I think. So, you know, that'd probably be the best. There's been some good deliveries into the box. There was that opportunity with Christie. I thought if he'd taken the shot on rather than trying to go round the goalkeeper, it pretty much would have been a certain goal. So they've had some really, it was wonderful play, don't get me wrong, and it would have been a fantastic team goal, but they've got nothing to show for it so far.
Franny Benali, former Southampton defender, with us here on 5 Live Sports Extra. No goals at half-time between Bournemouth and Brentford, and actually just the one in the Premier League so far from the 7:30 kickoffs. That for Everton and James Tarkowski specifically against his former club. So Everton leading Burnley by 1-0 at the Hill Dickinson. Still 0-0 between Leeds and Sunderland on the brink of half-time there. They're just underway at Molineux between Wolves and Liverpool. Goalless in that one as well. Remember, all the Premier League games tonight, as they are across the week, are available for you live on 5 Live and 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Sounds, and it's also goalless in the 7:45 FA Cup 4th round game tonight between Port Vale and Bristol City. So goalless at half-time, this Brentford team, who have not had an away Premier League draw all season, but that might change tonight, and frankly, given the way that first half finished, they might be quite pleased, Brentford, that they're in that position at the moment. Half-time here at the Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0.
But for now, we're going to throw you to the stage. The man bringing the beat. Sherry's back onto the pitch.
Hello, welcome back to 5 Live Sports Extra 3, live Premier League football for you here at Vitality Stadium on England's south coast. Bournemouth and Brentford goalless at half-time. Chris Wise and former Southampton defender Franny Benali with you here. And Franny, just to reflect on that first 45 minutes, for Iriola probably more of the same, and maybe for Keith Andrews and Brentford a little bit more might be the message in the dressing room.
Yeah, I think Keith Andrews and Brentford will be pleased that they're still on level terms. There was those few chances for Bournemouth, which Iraola would be disappointed that they haven't capitalised on at least one of them. So, you know, you'd have to say Bournemouth were nudging the competition thus far, but as we know, games turn on a single moment, and there's a lot of football to play still in this second half. Doesn't look like either side are making any changes at the moment, so you know, we'll wonder maybe what impact that any changes or substitutions can have on this match this evening.
And you've got all your notes in front of you, Franny, so you've probably got this statistic in there somewhere, I'm sure, but Brentford, the only team that Bournemouth have played in the Premier League and never beaten.
Really? Wow.
Oh.
That is interesting.
So
no, you're right, I haven't got that in my notes.
Okay. No, I was saying I was expecting it to be in there, but I know that you're a man who does your extensive work, so I assume that statistic would be amongst them. But there's many stats. I mean, obviously, there's many stats.
It's a good one.
That you can
It's a good one.
But it is a good one.
Let's see how this second 45 minutes plays out.
Right, we're underway. Bournemouth going from right to left in this second half. They're the ones in possession with Marcos Senesi, one of their two centre-halves, who crashes a ball forward, and Evan-Nielsen isn't able to reach it. So no changes for either team, as Brentford in the right-back position with Coyote. Here is the Bournemouth side for you. Petrovic in goal, Jimenez, Hill, Senesi and Truffert, and then Adams and Christie with Alex Scott, Ryan and Tavernier in the more attacking positions, though Christie's quite advanced at the moment at least, and Evan-Nielsen leading the line for Bournemouth. And Brentford, who had to make a change in the early throws with the injury to Rico Henry, so Christopher Ayer has come on for him at left back. Kelleher in goal, Coyote, Collins, Vandenberg and Ayer, Jensen and Henderson, and then Ouattara, Damsgaard, Schade and 18 Premier League goal striker Igor Thiago. And Bournemouth have an early throw here, high up inside Brentford's half on the right hand side, launched towards that near post, headed away by Igor Thiago. Back in it comes again. It nearly bounced towards Evan-Nielsen at the far post, who's going to keep it in play. In fact, he's going to let it run because he thinks it's going to be a corner. It's not, it's a goal kick, so that was a mistake by Evan-Nielsen to let that ball run out of play, because it was well within his capabilities to keep it in and send it back into the box again if he wished. Yeah,
obviously a mistake by Evan-Nielsen there on who got the last touch, but it just amazes me, Chris, just as you were speaking there, you know, Brentford come out literally just after the second half and they're trying to play out through this Bournemouth side. Bournemouth clearly are going to come out and look to press you early on in the game, and they ended up giving a throw-in away, and if had that led to a goal, they'd only have themselves really to blame in the way that they actually played out, and they're on the back foot again now.
Yeah, Jimenez with the driving ball in, and Evan-Nielsen reached it. It's come off the post, I think. It's come back out to Alex Scott. Alex Scott trying to work his way through. Evan-Nielsen was also screaming for a penalty. I don't quite know what that was that was based on from a Bournemouth perspective. We'll come back to that in a moment as the ball's cleared up towards the halfway line, but that was another big chance, Franny, for Bournemouth.
It certainly was, yeah, the ball rolling across to Evan-Nielsen, and you've got to say, as soon as he struck the ball, he was almost immediately appealing for that penalty to be given, wasn't it? Haven't had a chance to see a replay of anything like that just yet, but he certainly felt that he was impeded somehow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to have a look at that again, because Evan-Nielsen's cries were very loud indeed. 0-0 still between Bournemouth and Brentford. Jimenez from the halfway line, right-footed down the line towards Ryan, trying to burst beyond Ayer. He's pulled it back looking for Evan-Nielsen, stopped by Vandenberg, picked up again by Ryan, delivered to the edge of the box for Scott, teased up for Tyler Adams, back to Alex Scott again, trying to get it onto his left foot. Now he's left it for Christie. Christie to the right side for Ryan again, trying to work his way across the edge of Brentford's penalty area. Bournemouth have started this second half really brightly, 4 minutes in, still 0-0, as Senesi now on this left-hand side with Truffert, 10 yards outside the box, coming infield to Tavernier, and with Christie again rolling the ball underneath his foot. The Scotsman was one of those who had a big chance for Bournemouth in that first half. Ryan Christie off the back of a superbly fluent Bournemouth move where he tried to dummy and go round the goalkeeper, and he just lost control of the ball at the very last, and then Ryan trying to flick it on towards Evan-Nielsen. Tavernier has caught Coyote, not once but twice. You'd probably get a free kick for either of those. It is for the first one, and it's a free kick, and now we can see that replay again as to what happened to Nielsen, Franny.
Just seeing it, I mean, it's a good opportunity first and foremost for him to take the lead, and you'd probably say that he's got a great opportunity to actually score from open play, but he's just ahead of the ball a little bit. I don't really agree. I think Craig Pawson made the correct decision there. If VAR looked at it at all, I think they've gone with the right decision, that there wasn't any foul or penalty to be given.
And do you know, just watching that again, he's actually further ahead of Coyote Nielsen than I first thought he was. It's a really good chance.
It isn't it? You almost wonder whether he's, as you say, ahead of him, but potentially could have taken it with his right foot, but the ball rolls across and then comes back off the upright.
Does have a little bit of contact, Coyote, on the back of Evan Nielsen's foot. That maybe is what disrupted the flow, and perhaps why he was asking for a penalty. Just the left. In fact, Freddie, do you know what? The more I'm watching that, the more actually it looks like a possible penalty. What do you think?
What are you thinking on clipping an ankle?
Yeah.
Well, we're seeing a bit of a replay with Iriola, almost suggesting that why haven't VAR got involved in that?
He was making the VAR signal, wasn't he?
Yeah, making it clear what he felt should happen.
Yeah. Right, we'll come back to that in a minute, because Jensen's got a throw here for Brentford. 0-0, 6 minutes into the second half. Brentford going from left to right, turned on by Ayer, who just sort of flicked a heel at it to send it into an area, and Bournemouth clear it away up towards the halfway line for a throw. And Andoni Iraola is still chuntering away down on the touchline in the direction of Craig Pawson, pointing up to where the incident took place, up towards our left-hand side, and shaking his head, and he's got his teeth gritted now. Andoni Iraola, who's not a happy man down there, the Bournemouth manager.
He's not happy at all, is he? Whatsoever. He feels if the referee has missed it.
I don't know, it just looked to me like as Evan Nielsen was running in, Coyote has accidentally probably stood on the back of the lower part of Evan Nielsen's calf, and it just disrupted his movement a little bit.
I'd be interested to see it again from that point of view, Chris, but I've got to say, you know, a striker that gets into that position, if it is just a slight bit of contact, I didn't see anything there that was, unless on a replay we see something different, but it wasn't enough to sort of change a great goal-scoring opportunity had he just really gone full tilt at trying to get in there. Defenders are going to do as much as they can to stop you from getting an easy tap-in or a finish, and you've got to almost expect some sort of contact in some ways. So my initial reaction was there wasn't enough there for a penalty.
There's Coyote from the right back position. He's run all the way across diagonally into the middle of the park, and now he's giving it to the left-hand side, where Sharda collects it, and then Christie breaks it up, and Bournemouth break on Brentford here. 0-0. Alex Scott from the halfway line. His pass is behind Marcus Tavernier, so he's had to recheck and rebalance his run here, Marcus Tavernier. Back to Alex Scott again with the headband on, laid up for Trufair. Trufair, former Rennes defender, left-footed cross towards Ryan, had a swing at it, and then it nearly came loose, and eventually it has to Alex Scott. Scott's given it to Tavernier. Tavernier swivels on the edge of Brentford's box to the right side for Jimenez, who lashes that ball so high over the bar that it pretty much hit the back of the Steve Fletcher stand behind Queven Kelleher's goal.
Yeah, and a promising build-up again. The initial pass from the first breakaway wasn't great out to the left-hand side, but the patient build-up thereafter, as soon as it did fall for Jimenez, got to say we've been praising him in that first half, but certainly made the wrong choice on that occasion, the way that the ball ended up high in the supporters.
Does have one Premier League goal, Alex Jimenez. That was against Liverpool in January. Goal is still here tonight at Vitality Stadium, one of 3 Premier League games that got underway at 7:30 tonight. Everton, Burnley leads Sunderland the other 2. Everton are 1-0 up against Burnley through that goal from James Tarkowski in the first half. Still no goals between Leeds and Sunderland, and Wolves Liverpool, who've gone underway at 8:15. Every single game this week in the Premier League, live on 5 Live and via BBC Sounds. Is Jensen. Remarkably similar hair. I know we keep talking about hair, it feels like, for Franny Benali, but his and Alex Scott's hair are almost identical. Swept back, headbands from not, you know, they're almost stood next to each other now, and very similar profile, haven't they?
when you look at them, if you swap kits all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it could easily be,
couldn't it?
a difficult one to call on who's who, wouldn't it?
Here's Damsgaard returning it to Ouattara on the right hand side. He's playing against his former club tonight, and he's found the room for the cross as well, and James Hill got his angle of his body right to twist into the ball to hook it away with his right foot, and then Christie wins the throw.
Yeah, good positioning from James Hill, recognised the run of Thiago coming into the box, but just positioned himself really well. But are Brentford just starting to get back into it?
There's Tavernier, and he's got the free kick out of Coyote, who then tried to take it quickly, Marcus Tavernier. Coyote hadn't retreated by that point. He's not going to get booked for that, Coyote, because Tavernier was just trying to hurry things along. Don't have a good record, Bournemouth, as I mentioned, against Brentford. The last time they beat them was a playoff semi-final in the Championship, a first leg here in 2021, but then Brentford knocked them out in the second leg, and that was the season that Brentford went up via the playoffs when they beat Swansea in that final. It feels a long time ago now since Brentford were a Championship team, such as they settled into life as a very, very high performing Premier League team. And they're on the break here. Sharda moving quickly down the left, intercepted well by Hill, who again tonight, Franny, I don't know how much you've seen of James Hill in recent weeks. He's become a regular in this Bournemouth centre-back position now alongside Marcos Senesi. He's keeping Bafodi Diakite out of the team right now. He's been really impressive in recent weeks. Igor Thiago, Brentford suddenly having a spell of their own, putting the pressure on. Ouattara's cross, Hill's on the end of it, on the penalty spot area to head it away. Yeah,
he's been outstanding, hasn't he? Along with many of his teammates, coincides with the form that Bournemouth are in at the moment.
Foul on Evan Nielsen by Vandenberg on the halfway line, so Bournemouth with a free kick. Keith Andrews now the latest manager on the touchline to be irritated about a Craig Pawson decision.
Yeah, and my pause was just like glancing down at the touchline to see the reaction of the two managers. Iriola was looking as if to say, surely, you've got to give this one.
Got his new deal, didn't he, until 2032 last week. Keith Andrews, 6-year contract, which is not the norm in the manager game, is it?
No, quite unusual to see that, wasn't it? I'm sure if he's got any representation, probably done very well, because I can't think of too many managers that last for 6 years. But he's certainly done well this season. Can't knock that whatsoever. And come the end of the season, wherever they end up, it's going to be a positive one for them, I'm sure. We touched on talking about Europe a little bit, but if either of these sides did qualify for Europe, what impact would that have on the domestic campaign?
There's Coyote trying to shuffle Tavernier out the way of the ball with his back to goal all the way down by the byline, and he has won Brentford the throw. We're just seeing a shot of Steve Fletcher, legendary Bournemouth striker, on our screens. So legendary that they've named one of the stands here after him.
And I don't know if you noticed, Chris, talking about legendary players, my former teammate Matt Letizia threw
Here's Alex Scott into the box, right-footed shot, still managed to get his effort away, and then he screams for a handball, Alex Scott, and so do many Bournemouth fans in that Steve Fletcher stand. Did that hit the arm there of Nathan Collins or possibly Christopher Ayer?
Well, there was certainly a big appeal from the supporters behind there, wasn't there? Don't think it was certainly an intentional one. May have struck his arm.
No suggestion that's going to be reviewed, because play is continuing with true fair for Bournemouth. And Evan Nielsen, there's a lot of room on the right-hand side if Bournemouth can exploit it here. Ryan's got the ball, running with some intent towards Brentford's back line, a few yards outside the penalty area. He's giving it to Alex Scott on that right wing position, from Ryan the Brazilian back to Alex Scott again. £24.7 million they paid Vasco da Gama for Ryan, as Christie thought about lining one up from a central position. Now he does shoot, and then it's deflected wide by Tavernier, who was almost running onto the Ryan Christie shot initially, diverting the ball the opposite way, and it creeps a couple of yards wide of the right-hand post of Kelleher.
And it's one of those ones we see a player taking on a shot, a deflection of a player running in towards the goal, could so easily have just ended up in the back of the net, but from Bournemouth's perspective, it's gone the wrong side of the post.
And it is still 0-0 between Bournemouth and Brentford, and we are now at the hour mark tonight. And we've got the sight of the full moon in the sky as well tonight here at Vitality Stadium, which sometimes means something dramatic might be about to happen.
Well, there's a little bit of movement down on the benches, so it looks like Brentford, Keith Andrews is chatting to one of his players. They're going to make a change. And is that first yellow card of the game?
Yeah, it's a yellow card for Jensen for either for the push on Christie, or then perhaps for something he said to Craig Pawson off the back of it.
Yeah, quite possibly. There's a little, it didn't seem too much in the foul itself, did there? Maybe the fact that it was like a little kind of petulant sort of kick out, or as you say, may have been some kind of dissent. But it gives Bournemouth the opportunity to put the ball into the Brentford area.
Alex Scott instead from that position on the right has gone short for Christie, and Bournemouth work it to the left for Tavernier. Tavernier trying to see if there's a route past Coyote, who defends it well, deflects the ball high into the air. Christie collects it as it's dropping out of the sky for Bournemouth. He's had it taken away from him, and he puts the challenge in on Jensen, and he wins the throw, Matthias Jensen, and it's Yihor Yarmaluk who is going to come on here for Jordan Henderson. So it is a change in the central midfield position for Brentford, and Jordan Henderson is shouting words of disappointment to himself or to anyone who wants to hear about the fact that his numbers come up on the board. Having his name chanted by the Brentford fans in the away end.
It's been solid there for them though, hasn't he? Thus far up in this game, certainly. That bit of experience and knowledge. Certainly, you say his fitness certainly didn't seem to be waning at all. Maybe a bit frustrated at coming off at this stage.
Brentford, who had the throw, have given possession back to Bournemouth, but Van den Berg covering the position from Evan Nielsen on the left wing. Back to Kelleher it goes, and upfield and away for Brentford. Still goalless between Bournemouth and Brentford, who have now made two changes in this game with that injury to Rico Henry. So they've only got one. He's only got one substitute window left, Keith Andrews, now with Yarmaluk coming on in this second half, and the option still to make three more changes if he so wishes. But if he does, he's going to have to do it all at once. This is Damsgaard chipping it forward. They've got a few youngsters on the bench again tonight, Brentford, the likes of Luca Benson, Oliver Shield, who certainly aren't household names yet to make their Premier League debut. They have appeared in the FA Cup for Brentford this season. And Kay Furo as well, a young 19-year-old Belgian under-21 striker who they signed from Club Brugge in January. He might be an option a little later on, as Brentford with a free kick 20 yards inside Bournemouth's half for a foul by Scott and Coyote. Yeah,
definite foul by Scott, wasn't it? But we're yet to see Areola make a change. He's certainly got some strength. You're talking about some of the youngsters on Brentford's bench, but he's got some experience and talent certainly to make changes in this Bournemouth lineup, just to freshen up one or two legs as well as the game ticks on. We did touch on it at the beginning of the game, Chris, didn't we? What impact could potentially the substitutes have in this match? It looks like a change from the touchlines could potentially be the difference between a point as it's playing out at the moment and one of the sides taking all three.
In terms of the attacking options for Andoni Iraola, David Brooks, Amin Adli, Junior Krupi, Enes Now and Alex Tort. So there are options aplenty for Iraola. Short free kick by Brentford. Ouattara delivers. Flying punch by Petrovic. Very Superman-esque that from the big Bournemouth goalkeeper.
It was effective, wasn't it? Certainly no doubt what he wanted to do. He's probably going to pluck this one.
It's a good claim by Petrovic there as that ball came back in from Yarmaluk, and he underarm bowls it out towards Tyler Adams to Bournemouth in the red and the black. Typical home strip of the Cherries. Going from right to left in this second half, so towards that Steve Fletcher stand over towards our left hand side. Towards Senesi jumping there with Mikael Damsgaard, landed very awkwardly, and he's holding his torso and his side there. The Argentinian centre half lying on the ground, staring up at the night sky, and the players stopped for him to have some treatment.
Yeah, he's made of tough stuff. I think he'll make his way to his feet, but you've got to say both Senesi and James Hill have kept Thiago quiet, certainly thus far in this game. Given the goals Thiago has scored this season, it's been a huge asset for Brentford, the goals he's scored. But so far Bournemouth have managed to keep him and the rest of the team very quiet.
Yeah, 18 in the Premier League for Eagle Thiago, 7 in his last 9. He's been in really good form. Pulled in 1 at Turf Moor in the weekend. Burnley 3, Brentford 4. And wouldn't you know it, 65 minutes in, Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0 tonight.
Do you know, as a defender, Chris, when I was playing, you think there's some players you play against, think I'm playing really well, we're doing well as a team, I've kept the striker or winger really quiet, then they just pop up in a split second and just change the game, pop up with a goal, and everything else through the match you think, I've done everything right. It used to be so frustrating if ever that happened.
Who was the best at doing that from you remember, from players you played against?
I almost think of like Cantona. You might think like, oh, I'm doing well marking him, and sometimes I was given a job to do a man-to-man job on him, but he just had that aura and presence all the time around him, you know, with the collars turned up, the big barrel chest, and you think, I've done okay today, and then he would just pop up with something, a bit of brilliance out of nowhere, or somebody like Ian Wright who would just score bags of goals all the time and relish in the fact that he would score goals against you.
Here's Evan Nilsson for Bournemouth, goalless at the moment. Tavernier crossing into the box with his left foot. It didn't quite come all the way to the back post where Ryan was for Bournemouth, and then Christie's won it off Yarmulke, and he's knocked him away with his shoulder as well as he slaloms towards the edge of Brentford's penalty area, broken up by the visiting Bees, and Ouattara, having his shirt pulled, is going to get the free kick here. True fair, the offender. Free kick to Brentford. Cantona wasn't in that Manchester United team that day where they changed the shirts at half-time in that very infamous Premier League game against Southampton.
I was
back
playing
in the
that
90s,
game.
yeah.
I was playing that game, but not as a centre-half in that one. I was marking David Beckham, I think, was playing. And
oh, look at that. Look at that. Just a casual name drop there.
No, but it just goes to show how United were that dominant force in the 90s, weren't they? They were the side to come up against, and the players they had. So, yeah, when little old Southampton were beating them 3-0 at the Dell that year, and then they came out in a different kit second half, supposedly because they couldn't see one another, was the excuse from Sir Alex Ferguson.
And how did the game end?
It ended 3-1.
Yeah, so they saw each other just a little better in the second.
A bit better in the second half, yeah. But we deserved the win. We actually beat them 3 seasons on the trot.
I was going to say, I remember you having a really great spell against them for a period.
Yeah, the 6-3,
Manchester United.
6-3, the 3-1 where they changed shirts, and then a 1-0 victory as well. So, you know, we were never going to beat them over the course of a season, but we could always, in a one-off game, be more than a match, especially at the Dell.
Yeah, the Dell was such an imposing venue, wasn't it? And Southampton back in the day used that to great effect. Throw from Jensen for Brentford from the left into Bournemouth's penalty area. Away by Christie with his head, the Scotsman. To the right-hand side for Ouattara. Moves the ball away from Jimenez, delivers low. Evan Nilsson, it hit his back. He actually had his hands behind his back as well, Evan Nilsson, just to make sure there was absolutely no debate over which part of the body it hit. And it's out of play for a throw to Brentford on the right-hand side. And Keith Andrews with his very smart navy blue jacket on down on the touchline, giving firm instructions to his players down there, the Irishman. Yeah,
and one of his staff as well were saying to the players, no real rush to take the throw in. You can see Brentford's mindset in this game already. You know, they're quite happy with the way the game's playing out so far. It's down to Bournemouth to really take the game if they want to sort of try and force a winner, I think, in this one, which might expose them at the back a little bit.
Finished 4-1 to Brentford when they played Bournemouth back in December at the G-Tech. Kevin Schade got a hat-trick that day. He's on the pitch tonight, Kevin Schade, but he's been one of those Brentford forward players that I feel like we really haven't mentioned much as Brentford rebuild from defence.
That's right, yeah, their attacking threat has been very different to that reverse fixture, as you say.
Actually been down here already this season as well, because these two had each other in the early rounds of the League Cup this season. Brentford won that evening too, as Jensen stops the Bournemouth ball on the halfway line going forward, and it's collected anyway by Marcus Tavernier, who was the one who certainly a couple of times in that first half in particular put in some really brilliant balls into Brentford's penalty area that Bournemouth couldn't take.
Yeah, he's been one of those players that's provided those deliveries into the box that look really dangerous, and of course He did it at the weekend against Sunderland to get back on level terms for the ball into the box for Evan Nielsen's header, stroke, shoulder, whatever you'd like to call it, but it counted.
Trufair, under pressure from Ouattara, clears it into the former Bournemouth man. Of course, those two wouldn't be former teammates because Trufair came in the summer and Ouattara left in the summer, and it is a Bournemouth change. So this is going to be their first change of the evening here with Amin Adli, the Moroccan. Wondering whether it is, I mean, you imagine it's probably going to be one of those wide players for Amin Adli. Not definitely, but what do you reckon, Franny? Maybe Ryan, who hasn't been as explosive tonight as we've seen in some of his other Bournemouth performances.
Yeah, I think it'd be one of the wide players. He's got other opportunities if he wants to change Evan Nielsen as well.
Here's Alex Scott making his way through Brentford's midfield to the edge of the box. Tavernier with the low ball in. Stopped by Coyote, who was the first barrier for Brentford. And out to play it goes. It's a corner to Bournemouth. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. We're in the last 20 minutes now.
Just interesting, that very quick debate on the touchline as the ball went out for the corner. Iriola turning to his staff to say, are we going to make the change now? You know, there's obviously sort of positions players have got to take up, but they quickly decided not to bring Adli on at this split moment.
Corner to Bournemouth with the two centre-halves, Senesi and Hill, both at the back post, and Bournemouth go short with the corner to Christie, centrally to Trufair. He's the one who crosses low. Cleared away as far as Jimenez, who had a strike, closed down by Jensen, whose touch just about creeps away from him, with Igor Thiago as a possible option. Had the ball been a bit closer to Jensen there, he would have been released away, and I don't think Bournemouth would have caught him.
No, they were out of shape, weren't they? And it would have been a real interesting run from the halfway line pretty much, Chris, wouldn't it? See how that would have played out, but timely interception for sure.
Just a reminder of the state of play. Bournemouth 10th, Brentford 7th at the start of the night, 4 points between them. And with Chelsea not in action until later in the week, a win for Brentford here would take them 6th. And the possibility of, well, even the scoreline as it is now, we'll see Bournemouth shuffle above Fulham up into 9th as Jensen with a deep ball in for Brentford. Schade knocked down for Ouattara, and he had a good chance there, Ouattara. Plenty of space to line up where he was going to put the shot, and the shot was right at Petrovic in the end.
Yeah, it was shaping up almost like you think there's a goal coming. Great knockdown from Schade, but Ouattara just not connecting properly.
And now Bournemouth down the other end with Trufair coming down the left-hand side, with Amin Adli still waiting to come on. Here's Christie moving freely up to the edge of the penalty area. On he goes, Ryan Christie, and Vandenberg across his path just pokes the ball away from Christie and wins it back. Classy bit of defending from Sepp Vandenberg.
Yeah, it looked like it was opening up for Christie at one point, didn't he? He was skipping through a few challenges. One or two of the Brentford players not really looking to engage him or close him down, but not for the first time tonight. They've managed to just snuff out the threat that Bournemouth have shown coming forward. And it looks like we're potentially going to see, if not certainly 2 substitutions from Bournemouth any minute.
Yeah, I can see Ellie Junior Krupi, I think, is the other player down there. Get that clarified in just a moment. As Brentford break down the right with Ouattara, the cut back for himself in towards Schade. Hill jumped with him and just did enough to put Schade off his stride there as he was jumping the German.
Yeah, again, not for the first time. James Hill doing well with that aerial threat into the box. Ouattara doing well, cutting back onto his left foot, clipping it in towards the far post. Brentford fans hope Schade's going to get there, but James Hill dealing with that. And here comes the changes.
Right, the first Bournemouth change is going to be Ryan off and Amin Adli on, so that is a direct swap, one winger for another. I did mention it with Ryan, he's not quite been able to light up the arena like we've seen in some of his other Premier League games, but then credit to Brentford for being able to shackle him that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's to be expected sometimes. You know, there's a lot of talk around him at the moment, isn't there, Ryan? But you know, you've got to remember he's 19 years of age, playing the first time in the Premier League. He's going to have games where he dips in and out a little bit.
And here comes another teenager off the Bournemouth bench, another 19-year-old, Ellie Junior Krupi. He's on for Ryan Christie, so Alex Scott is going to drop into the deeper midfield position, and Junior Krupi will play just off Evan Nielsen now, I think, in that Bournemouth forward line.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Chris, I'd agree. And, Bournemouth fans will be pleased to see their top goal scorer this season coming onto the pitch. Is it 8 Premier League goals this season? So they'll be hoping he adds to that tonight.
Brentford free kick then, 12 yards outside the box. In it goes, downward header by Van den Berg, saved by Petrovic, cleared away by Hill. But Petrovic was on the stretch there to turn that away. That is the most decisive piece of goalkeeping we've seen from him all night.
It is, and you often see goalkeepers making that kind of save down low when there's a lot of bodies in the box. A good header from Van den Berg, but it was a good save. First probably real good opportunity on target from Brentford.
Everton are 2-0 up now against Burnley. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's got the second goal, and it's Leeds 0, Sunderland 1. Habib Diarra from the penalty spot after 70 minutes, so that's going to have implications for those that are below Leeds, so Tottenham, and for Nottingham Forest and for West Ham United. And at half-time at Molineux, it's still Wolves 0, Liverpool 0. Wolves the bottom side in the Premier League. Liverpool, the champions. Coyotes cross into the middle, deflected out of the area before it's swept away upfield by Ellie Junior Krupi. Great stat on Ellie Junior Krupi, Franny. The only teenager with more goals in Europe's top leagues this season is Barcelona's Lamine Yamal.
Oh, he's probably telling all his teammates that, isn't he? If he knows it.
I reckon he might know a stat like that, don't you?
Yeah, it'll be a good chance, but he's been brilliant since he's come in, isn't he? Again, for another youngster, certainly continuing the top talent that is coming to Bournemouth. I think we touched on it a little bit off air, didn't we, before the game, that players signing for a club like Bournemouth know that they're going to get an opportunity to play at this level of the game in the Premier League, and if they perform, there's potential to go to bigger clubs as well.
Van den Berg misjudges the bounce of the ball on the halfway line. Evan Nielsen picks it up, he's fed it into the box. Tavernier hits the post with his left foot, went high with his finish, and it came right off the angle of post and crossbar to the top right hand side of Kelleher and away from danger. That's another opportunity for Marcus Tavernier, and for the second time in this second half, Bournemouth have hit the Brentford woodwork.
Oh, and it looked like it was just opening up, didn't it? It goes a little bit wide for Tavernier, so he's got quite a bit of work to do. It's high, as you say, it almost hits the post and the crossbar on the angle. But the defending, just trying to see who it was that got back. They almost slid in and made the challenge pretty early, didn't they? So it almost made, I think it was Ayer.
Yeah, I think it possibly was.
Sliding across, almost forced Tavernier to make the shot high. Pretty clever defending, but certainly a last-ditch slide for sure.
And then Eagle Thiago up the other end, almost fed that between two Bournemouth defenders there for Kevin Schade, who was moving with some intensity to get onto it. Thiago's won it back again for Brentford, gets to the byline, crosses low with his left foot, and James Hill at the feet of Schade with the challenge, and Bournemouth bring it away with Truffert down the left, spins the ball into the high left wing for Tavernier. And Van den Berg's over there first to get there for Brentford and to calmly give it back to Kelleher.
Yeah, good positioning from the defender himself, but the ball from Truffert just overhit for Tavernier. Just gave a little bit too much weight on that pass down the channel on the touchline. It's just getting to that stage of the game where tired legs just start creeping into it. Games at the weekend. Quick turnaround.
Here's Evan Nielsen, this might be his moment. In the box, drops a shoulder past Van den Berg. Brilliant footwork! Oh, what a goal! But it's not going to count. The flag's up. How unlucky for Evan Nielsen. It was supreme striker play from the Brazilian. He dropped a shoulder, he went past Van den Berg, then he produced some really neat footwork to sit another Brentford defender now. Finished with class, and at the end of it all, the flag's up, and Evan Nielsen was coming back from an offside position initially.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. He was wanting the assistant referee getting it correct. VAR no doubt be checking it, but I don't think it'll be a very long one because he's clearly offside. But coming back to his skill and composure to go around two defenders like he did, it's a shame that it was offside in a way. That obviously gave him the advantage to do what he did, but he almost beat two defenders still and finished it quite brilliantly, didn't he?
I know it's March the 3rd, but I'd stick my neck on the line and say that would have been goal of the month had that counted for Evan Nielsen.
It was pretty
Is that a
special.
little bold?
Well, I'd agree. It was, if you're the defender on the end of that, I've been on the end of that sort of thing, and you don't want to see that on Goal of the Month when players go dribbling past you like that. So from a defender's point of view, not great, but they'll be pleased that it didn't count being offside. But we're seeing Evan Nielsen now being changed, another third substitution for Bournemouth with Unal coming on.
Yeah, so
but it was a brilliant finish from him, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just, yeah. And he sort of almost has this rueful look on his face, Evan Nielsen, as he departs the pitch, having seen his number go up. And Unal's on in his place, the Turkish forward, as Igor Thiago, trying to get the wrong side of James Hill, is going to let that ball run out of play, because it's going to be a corner to Brentford, because the last touch came off Hill, and then Igor Thiago doing the good thing, because he actually ran into a ball boy down there and was just tapping the ball boy on the shoulders to say sorry about that. It was a genuine attempt just to try and win the ball, but it's a Brentford corner. It's 0-0, and we're now in the last 10 minutes of this Premier League game.
Yeah, can either of these sides find that one moment of magic that we saw from Evan Nielsen there, but being disallowed because of the offside? But no surprise whatsoever that Brentford look like they're going to swing this with a lot of players in and around the 6-yard box.
Ouattara with the corner for Brentford from the right towards Sharda at the far post. It's a Bournemouth head on it from Tavernier, and then another one from Adley, and Tavernier needs to get a third one on it too, and the referee has stopped play because Tyler Adams is down with a head injury here, so Craig Pawson having to make sure he's okay, and actually Bournemouth had done what they needed to do defensively anyway, Franny.
Yeah, good defending from Bournemouth. Might have been just a little, looks like Sharda just accidentally backs into. Yeah, he's a
Tyler
go,
Adams, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Adams, yeah. A little bang on the face maybe. I don't think there's anything too serious, but Craig Pawson correctly just double checking to make sure he is okay.
He returned last month, Tyler Adams, having missed 2 months because of a knee problem. Former Leeds midfielder. His former club are trailing still at home to Sunderland by a 1-0. Everton 2-0 up against Burnley. Wolves Liverpool 0-0. That was a 8:15 kick-off. That's live on 5 Live tonight. Every single Premier League game this week live on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. So we'll have Brighton Arsenal, Man City Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa Chelsea, and Newcastle Manchester United for you tomorrow. And on Thursday, Tottenham against Crystal Palace. What a big game that is, Thursday night. And FA Cup begins this weekend as well. We'll have multiple FA Cup matches for you across our 5 Live coverage and on BBC television throughout the weekends. It starts on Friday night at Molineux. Wolves against Liverpool, just as it is tonight, that Friday night tie to get us underway.
Yeah, FA Cup special weekend, especially getting to this stage of the season and the competition as well, isn't it? But for those clubs that are maybe in the competition still, but fighting on a few fronts, does it come as a little bit of a distraction? I'd like to say you go all out still for a cup victory, don't you?
Absolutely. Here is now one of the Bournemouth changes. Adley crosses right-footed. He sends it into the side netting. Kelleher was unmoved, the Brentford goalkeeper, in his 6-yard box. So goal kick to the visitors. 7 minutes away from Brentford's first away Premier League draw this season, and what would be a 13th Premier League draw for Bournemouth. It's already a number that is more than anyone else in the league, and it's already more draws this season than they've had in completed previous Premier League seasons, Bournemouth.
Wow, it is a lot, isn't it?
Here's Igor Thiago. That might all be about to change. Sharda for Brentford, edge of the Bournemouth penalty area, surrounded by Bournemouth bodies. He's trying to push his way past Jimenez. Jimenez stands him up. It's Sharda that ends up on the ground, and that bleached blonde hair of Alex Jimenez brings it away, but then relinquishes possession.
Yeah, he may have just lost possession, just overhitting a pass, but you can't deny it was brilliant defending. And as you say, Bournemouth just smothering Sharda out as he entered the 18-yard box. Both sides have kept things pretty tight overall. There's been a few sort of half chances and decent saves. You'd have to feel that if someone does find that breakthrough now at this stage of the game, the opposition will be pretty disappointed to come away with nothing.
Nathan Collins, Sharda back to Collins again. Collins into the box. Tyler Adams doing what he does brilliantly. Just shields that return ball that was intended to come back towards Nathan Collins, and out it goes for a goal kick. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0.
I'd be intrigued to see a lot of what the Premier League sides, their fitness regimes are like, Chris. You know, like you look at the levels that a club like Bournemouth, they play within an intensity. You know, what they do day in, day out during the training week to sort of play with this kind of level of intensity and fitness. It's hard work. It's not easy for sure, especially if you're a player in the middle of the park having to get forward and get back.
There's Damsgaard for Brentford, just outside the Bournemouth penalty area. Jensen lining one up. He just retracted that right foot there as he was about to shoot, it seemed, and then Coyote's cross from the right is intercepted, but Yarmoliuk wins it back again for Brentford. Damsgaard crosses it in. Ouattara was at the far post. Trufair got there ahead of him, and Bournemouth fans will be well aware of what a good leap Dongo Ouattara has on him. He's one of the very best on the circuit for that.
Yeah, it was looking dangerous at one point, wasn't it? But it's gone from one end literally to the other.
Alex Scott chipping it forward. It's a great ball, and Junior Krupi tries to lob Kelleher. It was actually Adley with the effort, and up and into the arms of Kelleher it goes. He didn't quite get enough purchase on the lobbed effort there, did he, the Moroccan?
No, not enough, but what an open game we find ourselves with now. Almost literally end to end. Both teams are almost really going for the 3 points.
Yeah, this could be a really intriguing final 5 minutes plus stoppage time here at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. Jensen, and in his way was Tyler Adams. You were mentioning in the first half about underrated players. I think he falls into that category for this Bournemouth team. Just the way that he gets about the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. There's a number of them in the side, isn't there, Chris? That I think sort of, you know, that clearly certain players grab the attention more than others, but you know, there's those certain roles and certain players like Adams that do that sort of like the basics of the game really, really well, and sometimes that does get overlooked.
This is nice. Dongo Ouattara's numbers come up on the board for the Brentford change. Keane Lewis Potter coming on for him, and the Bournemouth fans are all applauding Ouattara as he leaves the pitch, so
yeah,
that'll be a nice feeling for him, won't it, as he gets a big hug
definitely
from Keith Andrews.
And he replicated it as well, giving them a little clap back.
But they've looked after him well tonight, Bournemouth. He's been a big player for Brentford in recent weeks, winners last month at Aston Villa and Newcastle, but he's been shackled tonight by his former club. So Lewis Potter, Keane Lewis Potter on the right hand side, former Hull winger of course. He was the player that got the equaliser for that big Brentford point against Arsenal in February. And they've got a throw here, Brentford, halfway inside Bournemouth's half on the left. Ayers going forward, and so is Nathan Collins as well. So I think we can assume that Jensen is going to hurl this one in towards the edge of that 6-yard box, and it's a queue of Brentford players. Ayer and then Collins and Igor Thiago. That's where it's going. On by Ayer and then Jimenez, a little unsure, maybe didn't get the shout from those around him, or maybe he did and he didn't take notice. Heads it out for a corner.
Yeah, and that little ironic cheer came from the Brentford supporters because there was no Brentford players around Jimenez. As you say, maybe a lack of communication there, but I guess as a defender, if you're in any doubt whatsoever, putting it behind for a corner like that is not the worst thing to do.
So the 88th minute is looming. Bournemouth and Brentford goalless, but it's a Brentford corner to be taken by Jensen in front of those visiting Brentford fans, who are taking up about a third of one of the small side stands opposite us here at the Vitality Stadium. And Jensen stood next to the corner flag, which is completely flat, which shows there's no wind inside the stadium at all. And Jensen with the long hair raises his right arm, swings it into the near post, header by Schade, up and over the bar. Couldn't direct it towards Petrovic's goal.
Yeah, not for the first time that we see teams now completely packing the 6-yard box. As you mentioned, Chris, Schade's header just getting way too much on it, going high over the bar. Bournemouth restarting the goal kick, but can one of these sides just find that last little bit to separate the two teams?
Now jumping into Coyote coming away with the ball. He's lost his balance halfway inside his own half, and Junior Krupi's taking it off him. No foul by Jensen. Junior Krupi ended up on the floor there, and then Jimenez harassing Yarmoliuk, gets it back again for Bournemouth, feeds it in for Enes Anal, who was looking at Amin Adley to say, are you going to go for this or am I? And in the end those two stood still, looked at each other, and Brentford stepped in and took the ball.
Yeah, there was almost that pause between the two players, wasn't there? The pass had been made, and as you rightly say, misunderstanding between two players who was going to make that run to receive the ball, and it's Brentford that have ended up with the throw-in.
Former Premier League defender Franny Benali with us on 5 Live Sports Extra 3 tonight, and we are in the final 60 seconds of this game, and it is still 0-0 between Bournemouth and Brentford, and any goal from here is going to be absolutely enormous for one of these two teams' seasons and European ambitions, because Brentford potentially are in a European place. Well, that's certainly how it seems, given that it looks like it will be 5 Champions League teams again for the Premier League this season, and therefore with Arsenal against Manchester City in that League Cup final, we already know that a position from that, a European position, will be coming back to the league, so 7th is going to be enough, I would say. And we're in 5 minutes of stoppage time as a high ball forward from Alex Scott for Bournemouth. He's headed away and now sends it back in the opposite direction. Brought down by Jensen in midfield, in the centre circle. He's lost it though. Tyler Adams wins it back. Junior Krupi goes off, running forward, and now's inside the box. Nathan Collins is there because Anal just shows him a bit too much of the ball. But Collins, perhaps wary of Enes Anau's threat, puts it out for a Bournemouth throw on the right.
As a player or a supporter, the last thing you want to do now is be a player or a team that makes a mistake that leads to a goal. And the supporters are doing their bit to try and urge their teams on to find this winning goal in this fixture. I've got to say, on the balance of play, it's probably been a pretty even 0-0 so far.
Here comes that long throw then from James Hill for Bournemouth towards the near post. Igor Tiaga, how about that? Your striker back there with a booming header away.
What a header. It's great to see forwards come back and help out defensively in those situations, especially with such a dominant header, as you said, Chris.
Jimenez still with some energy to offer, but he's gone running into Keane Lewis Potter, sends him to the ground, and as indicated by the frantic wave of the flag by the assistant referee, it is a free kick to Brentford on the edge of their own penalty area.
It's a bit of a needless foul by Jimenez, isn't it? He's running forward with the ball. May not have ended up, if he did lose possession in that area of the pitch, but where would Hall have gone? At that corner of the pitch, giving the foul away, has enabled Brentford just to launch the ball back up into Bournemouth's half.
Well, maybe the footballing gods are evening everything up with this 0-0 tonight after that 4-3 for Brentford at the weekend. That's how it feels anyway. Here's Tavernier. It's funny how football works like that sometimes. Alex Scott collected off Tavernier, 2/3 of the way inside Brentford's half on the left, and 2 of those 5 minutes of stoppage time have already gone. Bournemouth in possession with Senesi. Clipped into the left side of the penalty area for Tavernier. Tavernier gets to the byline, tries to pull it back, and it's forced forward by Junior Krupi and wide of the post. It might have even skimmed the post on its way through. That's another great chance, and everybody in black and red on the pitch and all those in the stands have got their hands on their heads. That's another great Bournemouth chance.
It certainly was, Chris, and that's the one chance that we thought was going to come. It's great play from Tavernier. He shields the ball well, literally on the byline, and he cuts the ball back, and it looks like the ball is going in from, did it come off Krupi, or was it Krupier's shot?
Yeah, it was Junior Krupi's shot, wasn't it? And then there was, I think it was Enes Anau perhaps in that 6-yard box.
Yeah, it connects with Unau and goes wide, and it was certainly heading goal bound, Krupier's shot.
Oh, what a chance it was. What a chance it was for Bournemouth. And maybe now that is the firmest indication yet that this game is destined to finish 0-0. Still Leeds 0, Sunderland 1, and Everton 2, Burnley 0. They're in the closing stages of those 2 games. And Wolves-Liverpool, 8:15 kickoff, which is live on 5 Live, is 0-0 too. Just into the second half there. Long ball into Brentford's penalty area. Junior Krupi can't meet it. Cleaned up by the head of Nathan Collins, and back there is Kevin Schade, but he's down by his corner flag at the moment. Alex Jimenez has gone over, and Bournemouth have got the ball off him, and Jimenez is in the box. He's pulled it back. It was Enes Anal who couldn't sort his feet out, tried to flick it goal bound with his heel. Brentford clear it away, but they're hanging on a bit now. Brentford back in by Truefair, deep towards that far post. Another commanding header from Ayer this time, and now all of a sudden Brentford are breaking forward with Damsgaard from inside his own half, hauled over by Adams, who almost like a Six Nations rugby tackle brings Damsgaard to the ground and gets the yellow card.
You got to say that was clearly Adams knew what he was doing there. There was no way he's even getting a pat on the head from one of his teammates. As if to say, we didn't want to be facing a counter-attack that sees Brentford race up the other end and potentially score a goal. Rather take one for the team on that scenario. It's going to be a clear and obvious yellow card. But what it did do was stop that counter-attack from Brentford.
And they're a bit better at rugby now, the Americans, than they once were.
Yeah, well,
so maybe there's a second career once he's done with the football for Tyler Adams.
You never know.
Right, let's see what this Brentford free kick brings. Mind you, they are in no rush to take this at all, are they? The ball is positioned in the centre circle, just inside Bournemouth's half. So it's Jensen who clips it in. Collins with the downward header. Scott's clearance only as far as Damsgaard. Is there going to be another Brentford late winner, just as there was at the weekend against Burnley? Yarmulke back to Collins again. Back to this right-hand side for Yarmulke. His right-footed cross, Eagle Thiago jumped to Bournemouth head on the ball initially, and then Damsgaard trying to get the better of Ennison now, who manages to head it away. The referee's whistle has gone. Alex Scott is down in the box. It's a Bournemouth free kick, and I think once we are done and dusted with some potential treatment for Alex Scott, that is going to be that, Franny Benali.
Yeah, there's going to be very little in the way of any added time now to find a winner in this game, but it's been a decent game, Chris, hasn't it? I've enjoyed it. There's been some entertaining moments from both sides, but neither just finding that one clinical finish or opportunity to take all 3 points. I think on reflection, maybe certainly Brentford will be pleased to take the point more than Bournemouth, but it just goes to show how impressive both these sides have been of late.
And there is the full-time whistle, so 0-0 is how it finishes between Bournemouth and Brentford. But I think we can bracket that as a very watchable 0-0 between two teams who had intent to win the games. Oh my goodness, there's something going on down in the technical area here, and Keith Andrews, amongst a flurry of bodies, is one of those in there who's trying to pull some of his coaching staff members away here, and Andoni Iraola has stepped in too, just to ensure this doesn't flare up. I don't know what that is all about. One of the Brentford subs has been hauled away. Is that Henderson?
It's Henderson,
yeah,
that was hauled away, Chris. Yeah.
Well, what happened there?
I didn't see what happened until you flagged it, but there's words still being exchanged down in the tunnel area. Keith Andrews is just walking away, but he was having a word with somebody. There's a lot of bodies down there. It all seems to have calmed down a little bit now, but something certainly flared up. I can only assume that something was said.
There is still a little bit of heat down there. I can see Ethan Pinnock is quite central to one or two words, and in fact there's one of Bournemouth's staff members who's pointing towards Pinnock as if to say, you were one of the instigators of that, and that's not me casting aspersions at all. I have no idea what triggered that. It didn't feel like the conclusion to the sort of game that we've had here.
No, certainly not, but you just never know little things that happen in a game. It might be a little challenge, a little niggle off the ball, something like that, or something that gets said by somebody and there's an instant reaction. But you know, two good sides that are doing really well this season, Chris, aren't they? And you know, they're proud of their record as well at the moment. I guess in some ways maybe we should have called a 0-0 after some of the stats that we read as well. So but an entertaining game as well. As far as 0-0s go, both sides were having a go. Bournemouth were the better of the first half. Brentford came back into it second half, and yeah, just neither side able to find that extra little bit to take all 3 points. But it was a good game.
It was a good game. Everything has simmered down now as well, which is good news. So for Brentford, this is their first Premier League away draw all season, the start of March, and this is the first time that they've been on their travels and drawn a league game. And for Bournemouth, yet another draw, one at the weekend against Sunderland here. That was 1-1. This one has finished 0-0 tonight. 13 Premier League draws, and that, as it was anyway prior to tonight, more than any other club in the Premier League. But on the basis of what you've seen tonight, Franny, where do you think these two sit in terms of wriggling into one of those European spots come May?
I mean, the games soon tick by, Chris, don't they? And you know, with a point each, you'd have to say Bournemouth being on 40 points now in 9th place. I think, you know, there's a lot still to do, even with those places up for grabs in Europe. I mean, anything can clearly happen, but you know, you're almost relying a little bit on continuing that good form themselves, but also expecting one or two teams above them to really slip up a little bit. And will that happen? I'm not so sure. You know, there's lots to play for. There's some, you know, really, really good sides there now. It's going to be fascinating. I honestly wouldn't like to call it. Really, it's that up in the air in many ways. United are going great of late, aren't they? There's the title charge between Arsenal and City, which is fascinating to see. But I love seeing clubs like Brentford and Bournemouth in this kind of position doing really well when they're not maybe such quite the household clubs or a size of a club, but still bring entertaining football and still, you know, make it competitive to play against. And they're doing really well, both sides this season.
So let me just tell you what that means in terms of the Premier League table, and obviously this is a spliced week, so we won't really have the full picture until Thursday night at the conclusion of that game between Tottenham Hotspur and Crystal Palace. But for Brentford, they stay in 7th in the Premier League table, 44 points now from their 29 games, so they are a point behind Chelsea in 6th, but now having played a game more. And Bournemouth have gone above Fulham, so they've gone from 10th into 9th on to 40 points, and they are 5 points off the top 6.
Yeah, if you're looking at, I touched on the games that Bournemouth had coming up over the next 3 or 4 games. Just glancing at Brentford's games as well, you'd have to say that Bournemouth have got the tougher fixtures. They've got to play Burnley next away, but then it's Man United at home, Arsenal away, and then Newcastle United away. Whereas Brentford have West Ham, Wolves, Leeds and Everton in the next 4. So without, you know, if you're just looking purely at the table, you'd have to say that, you know, Brentford's fixtures are the easier of the 2.
Yeah, that West Ham game, of course, an FA Cup game. And that's what's interesting, I guess, for Bournemouth, is that they're not in the Cup anymore. So they've got almost a fortnight to prepare for that Burnley away game.
That would be a benefit to them, certainly. Yeah, it's you know, maximising that time on the training ground and enabling a few injuries to recover if there are any, but also sort of resting legs through the hectic schedule that the Premier League is.
Always lovely to be with you, Franny.
Likewise,
great to see
Chris.
you.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah, Franny Benali with us, former Southampton defender, on 5 Live Sports Extra tonight. So that's it from our coverage here at Vitality Stadium. They are still playing the last that I've heard. The other 2 games have gone underway at 7:30 in the Premier League, though. They must be right at the very end of those matches at the Hill Dickinson and at Elland Road. Everton are 2-0 up against Burnley, with the goals from James Tarkowski against his former club and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, and it's still Leeds 0, Sunderland 1. Habib Diarra with the penalty there, and they're into the 10th minute of stoppage time. And in the 8:15 kickoff between Wolves and Liverpool, it is still 0-0, just shy of the hour mark. So I will point you in the direction of going over to 5 Live now to hear the last half an hour of that game at Molineux, which is available on BBC Sounds as well. Thank you very much for being with us tonight for Bournemouth against Brentford. And remember, the live football continues on 5 Live in the Premier League throughout this week. 4 more games tomorrow. Brighton against Arsenal, Man City, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, Chelsea and Newcastle, Manchester United. And then on Thursday we will have that huge game in North London between Tottenham Hotspur and Crystal Palace for you. But from us here at Vitality Stadium, we will see you soon.